Well, good morning, everybody. It is Experience Friday Live, Friday, June 17th. And I am here by myself again. Michael is on the road traveling, and it's great to be here. And it's great to be here not in a mask and sitting in my infusion suite as I was last week. Just to let everyone know, things are going well. It's been a good week. And we will see you in a couple more weeks as I go on to my second treatment. But I really want to talk about why we do Experience Friday Live. We've been doing this for almost 9 months. We will be taking a break when it comes to July. But we do this because we are so passionate about experience. And when we talk about experience, we talk about customer experience, employee experience, digital experience, all things experience. And all things experience affect every business, every touch point, every system, every human, and every process in a business. And with that, we love to talk with some amazing industry experts. And we've got one on today. I was so privileged to meet her in Boston a little over a month ago. Don't forget as well, you can find stuff at the Mophie Academy resources page, our books, some of our curriculum, some what we call disruptor papers. And as well, next week, before we go on break, Chantel Wilson-Chase will be with us. I'm talking about data listening. And if you've not heard her speak about this, you definitely want to be a part of that. But without any further ado, I am going to read about Dana Alvarenga is a vice president of customer experience at SlapFive. SlapFive is a customer-focused and always striving there. She is to deliver an amazing customer experience by constantly improving, educating, and building customer-focused programs and processes. Just what we talked about for the reason why we even do this show. You need to follow Dana and her hashtag CustomerX Therapy, which I'm going to have to ask her about, for various tips, best practices, and experiences about customer programs, customer success, advocacy, and customer marketing. And you need to subscribe to her podcast in collaboration on the CustomerX Therapy podcast. So let's bring to the stage Dana. Hey, Dana.
Hello.
It is
Thanks
so
for
good.
having me.
I am telling you, you're up in the Boston area. How hot is it there right now?
It's getting there. It's a bit humid, but it's nice. We went from winter to summer, so we missed spring. But we're here. We're having it, so I'm all
Yeah,
for it.
it's funny. I'm in Florida right now, and it's warmer in Ohio than it is in Florida, which you don't very seldom ever hear that.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome to have you here with us, Dana, and thank you for taking your time today. And we start every one of our shows with a quick 90-second question and answer here that basically says, why do you do what you do, and what keeps you motivated as you do it, Dana?
Love that question. So I do what I do with in regards to customer programs, customer experience, because I love building things. I love we talked about creating processes, creating connections, building relationships. And then I like to be able to showcase my customers the success that they have, which just makes you feel good. So it's fun to do what you like. And when you like what you're doing, you have fun doing it.
That's right. That's right. And I love that. Um, Dana, I heard you speak at the CX Forum in Boston. And if you have not, anyone listening, if you've not attended the CX Forum, you need to get to one more this year and get a part of those even next year. They're great events. And I loved how you approach things. And so you gave us a quote as a little bit of a stoke to start our conversation today that says, if you don't define what's in it for them, your customer experience has no chance. So if you don't define what's in it for them, your customer experience has no chance. With that, what are the challenges you as a CX professional or other CX professional faces when building this VOC program or voice of the customer program or voice of the consumer program? And how does it relate back to that quote?
Yes. So pretty bold statement to start. You asked for a bold one, so that's what I shared. And it's the challenges are if you're not defining what's in it for your customers by them participating and being a part of your customer program, if that's a program that they are invited into where they can select or elect what they want to do with you in regards to advocacy. Do they want to speak on webinars? Do they want to speak at an event? Would they like to be a reference call? Do they want to lead peer-to-peer user groups? If you find out, one, what they want to do and then define what that means for them and what opportunities you'll offer them, that's that two-way exchange of value. You're giving to get, so you're providing a value that they'll see. So if you don't do those, your program can fall flat. I've stood up a customer program where the senior leadership and the board just said, we need to do this. And I did it in a silo and just created it with like one product manager, and 4 people showed up, and it wasn't a positive. It was a customer advisory board. It wasn't a positive experience because we didn't ask our customers what they wanted out of it or what type of format they want or the frequency. So talk to your customers. They're the ones who are going to receive this experience.
Yeah, so but let's talk about this, Dana, because you know this. You and I speak a lot at conferences. We're around a lot of around experienced professionals, right? We talk about it a lot, and there's a lot of people that talk about it, but doing it is a completely different thing, right?
Yes.
So, yes, we need to, we need to stand them up. And yes, we have to get the customers involved. And you heard me say a lot of times organizations just check the box with this, right? Why is this still such a challenge, though, for professionals to do? Is it that they're not educated? Is it that they don't know how? Is it senior leadership? In your opinion, what is it?
I think it's senior leadership at some organizations that are the roadblocker of the challenge, because it's the whole organization that has to be involved and on board with it. So if senior leadership isn't a top down saying, let's support, let's build a customer experience, let's build this customer program for our customers, and they're more about looking at a product led growth, for example, that maybe isn't a customer led growth, that could be a challenge. So that's what I see is senior leadership, honestly, is the biggest roadblock or challenge in companies that are in those silos where not everyone's talking the same language, I guess.
Okay, so you've worked in those organizations.
Yes.
Hopefully less than more, right? What do you do? How do you get that senior leadership engaged to understand that it isn't just we have a customer experience program, right? That
Yeah.
it's so much deeper than that. Let me have you answer that first. Well, what do you do? What's a tip or a piece of advice to get those senior leaders bought into it?
Um, Capture the voice of your customers talking about what value they see in it, how it's impacted them. So get that true, authentic voice, not coming just from you, get it from your customers. And the other tip would be show how it's impacting revenue. Find a way to tie it back to revenue of maybe expansion. You're expanding your services, or they're renewing for another year. Show how it's impacted that and tie it back to the authentic voice of your customer.
I love it, and I totally agree with you. Both of those things, right? And I've had to do that in a major organization we worked in. But it's interesting how we don't think that way. So let me ask you this question: should this voice of customer VOC program be a separate effort, or really be integrated to your overall CX strategy?
I think it should be part of the CX, the customer experience strategy. I think the customer experience strategy should be that overarching umbrella. What's that's the whole entire experience. And within there, I call the micro programs are your micro programs, which could be that VOC program, which is capturing with surveys or the real authentic voice in interviews, your user groups, your meetups, your product roadmap sessions, all of those micro programs fall underneath the overarching customer experience program.
So we have a comment here, and I would love for you to weigh in on this. It's from Pam, and it says, product people, engineers are so smart. And yes, I've been in those rooms and I'm like, whoa, way smarter than me. Sometimes hard for them to imagine that others have different or valid perspectives. What's your take on that one?
That, and hi Pam, great to see you here. So that I would definitely say that's bringing that authentic voice of the customers, of giving them that perspective, because you saying internally and them hearing from you, maybe you're a new person within the organization standing up this customer experience program, or you're in a one-person team or department. Sometimes that happens. To get your point across, having an actual customer talk about the value that they had out of it, and also bringing product or product teams into conversations as well, bringing them on as a guest, maybe to a user group meetup, or just letting them interact with the customers virtually or in person could work too.
Yeah, and I love that whole perspective, because I think it is something people have to really grasp is how do you bring those people along, and what's the most effective way to bring them along? And many a times it's putting them right in the deep water with the customers. I remember we do a sprint model where we do 3-day sprints with organizations. And I remember we brought 2 huge organizations together that were doing a joint venture, and they thought they knew what they were doing, right? Like both organizations thought they knew what they're doing. And we do this session where we bring 10 or 12 customers in, and they have to present their ideas to them. And these customers just shit all over their ideas. And and they're senior leaders in these organizations, and they're going, holy cow, like we are missing the mark. And so I love it. I love how you think about it and where you're going. So then what advice, Dana, would you give to people looking to scale this program, or by launching a customer program? Because I think it's really easy for those of us that have done it to say, oh, just do a customer program. But if you're new to this world, or you're new to what's happening, it's not as easy.
Right. Yeah. I look at it in a four-step process. You want to have your planning, your homework stage, where you're doing like an internal roadshow with different teams, and having those other teams kind of learn about what the end result of building a customer program would look like. And then also doing your inventory and what you have internally of what type of interactions have your customers already done with you, and how did they like that? Would they like to do more of that? And then you get into your execute on it, launch it, make some fanfare, get senior leadership, again, executives tied into the launching and the executing of the program, and then ongoing management. And that's coming back and having that change management of internally, if there's new people within your organization, make sure everyone knows about the program, the value of the program, keep them updated, be loud about it. And also evaluate if there needs to be any changes. Talk to your customers. How is it going? Do we need to tweak anything? And then the last step would be measuring the impact of it. You're not going to see results the first 90 days. It will take time, but being able to, if you're doing that change management and evaluation of it, the results will come. So
that's a great nugget you just gave. And I hope people wrote that down and were listening. That it's going to take time. You won't necessarily see the results in the first 30, 60, 90 days, and most likely won't in those. Yeah. It's going to take 120 days to 180 days for you to start seeing the snowball effect of what those do. But I think that's really hard for senior leaders to understand.
Right.
Right?
Because that's where you got to bring in those qualitative and quantitative metrics that to balance during that time.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so what are some pitfalls when it comes to customer programs, and what advice do you give to avoid those pitfalls?
So the first pitfall, which the opening statement we had, is not defining what's in it for them. So if you're not defining what's in it for your customers, what that two-way exchange of value means, what opportunities they will be given, what advice or insights you'll be pulling from them, that could be a big pitfall. And then building it in a silo, like building it just internally, building a customer program just to, like you mentioned, check it off the box. And also making it about, I'm totally against, and I'll be ruffling some feathers here too, against kind of the points and begging for favors. If you do it right, your customers are going to be welcoming the opportunity to share their voice and participate, versus when a user group comes around and kind of that old way would be, oh, well, here, we'll give you this Visa gift card if you'll speak at our user group for us, or here, we'll give you some swag from our company to talk to this one customer. So you can do it after the fact as a thank you, but not pushing it up front, because that's begging for favors.
I love that. I love that because I think I have that same philosophy, but I've never heard it said the way that you did it. Like, thank them for coming and thank them for doing it. But customers do want to talk, and they do want to give their advice to companies. So I love that nugget. That's a great nugget. So that, set the expectation, let people know what they want, right? And that, I think starting this whole message off today around that, because I do think there's a split in the industry around what VOC really means. And it's not a check the box program. It's really getting to know, walking in the shoes, as we talk about at Mophie, empathy led, right? So how do we know really what our customers are facing? All right, one last question for today. What experience trends do we need to be paying attention to, in your opinion, for 2023 and beyond? Any trends that you're seeing out there?
So I would say it's less about those random, I call it random acts of advocacy, of those begging for favors. It's and less about survey responses that go into a black hole that nothing is put action on. It's more about that two-way exchange of value and partnering with your customers, and them being the ones out there proactively talking about their experiences of what they've done, having more peer-to-peer engagement. I think especially coming off of the past 2.5 years we've all had, peer-to-peer engagement is everyone's thirsty for it. Everyone wants it. So capitalize on that and make sure that you're fostering opportunities for your customers to do that.
Well, I love it. Love what you stand for. Give our audience a little bit of how they can follow you. Tell us a little bit about the podcast, because I just think you're an amazing thought leader in this space. I want to make sure that our audience and our followers are getting the best from you.
Thank you. Yes. You can find me on LinkedIn, Dana Alvarenga. As you mentioned, I do try to tag most of my content with hashtag CustomerX therapy, and that comes from doing my check-ins with my customers. I talk with a lot of one-person customer marketing teams, and they're on their own on an island. And after I get off some of these half-hour check-in calls, I've told my CEO in the past, I really felt like I was just her therapist. So we created a group therapy webinar series, and now I just tagline myself as a customer marketer group therapist, because I talk to them weekly, and I build programs for customer marketers to come together and have their own group therapy.
I love it. Well, make sure you're following Dana out there. Dana, if you'll hang out for just a little bit, I'm going to close up the show, and then I'll come say goodbye to you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, again, it was great to have Dana here with us, and some great comments out there. Just a quick reminder, as I mentioned, next week we will finish the summer off and be taking July off with Chantel Wilson Chase on data listening. You want to make sure you're listening to that and be a part of that next week as well. You can get a hold of Michael and I at mofi.co or ShawnNason.com. You can send us an email at hello@mofi.co or hello@ShawnNason.com. As well, Michael and I are on LinkedIn. You can get us there. But most importantly is that if you play in this experience ecosystem that we talk about on this show, and with so many of these great guests like Dana, we want you. Reach out, send me a direct message on LinkedIn, send Michael one, send us an email. We are now booking starting for late summer and the fall, and we want to have all of you on here. So please reach out to us. But most importantly, have an awesome weekend, and we will see you next week.